Jaws beached itself onto your NES back in 1987 and is obviously based on the incredibly popular Steven Spielberg movie of the same name. Jaws for the NES was developed by West 1-Bit Entertainment and published by everyone's favorite crappy licensed game publisher, LJN Entertainment. For those unaware, LJN became infamous in the NES days for striking up deals with every major movie and comic book license of the time, and then producing a string of some of the worst games ever made based on those licenses. Everything from X-Men to Beetlejuice was pushed through the LJN crap factory and resulted in just about every kid having experienced one of their awful games due to the attractive licenses they had locked down. Jaws is definitely one of the stranger games LJN ever tossed out though. I mean, how exactly do you make a game about the movie Jaws at all? And more importantly, should anyone ever make a game about Jaws? Well, go ahead and put on whatever shark repellent you can find, because we're about to see if Jaws on the NES is worth hunting down. Start up Jaws and you're tossed right into an overhead map that has you piloting a boat around. But before you can even get your bearings, the game sends you into an underwater shooting section that has you harpooning dozens of innocent sea creatures. Everything from jellyfish, manta rays, to small sharks are here to be mercilessly harpooned over and over again. At times, the innocent sea creatures you just murdered in cold blood will drop a shell to the bottom of the ocean floor that you can collect for no immediately obvious reason. Just as you get used to shooting stuff though, the game abruptly sends you back to that overhead map where you can move around a bit before you hit another jellyfish or something and are back to your sea creature killing ways. Also, occasionally Jaws himself will show up, but you do so little damage to him that you'll run out of time before you can even do a dent to his health bar. You basically do this over and over again until you eventually either get bored of the game and realize you've wasted a rental on this pile of a game, or you finally figure out what exactly it is you're supposed to be doing. Unfortunately for this review though, I don't get to return Jaws to the video store and forget about it, so I guess I should probably explain why and what you're doing, and how to progress in the game. Essentially, the goal in Jaws is to power up your harpoon gun to do enough damage to Jaws to trigger the final screen in the game. To do so, you'll need to pilot your boat back and forth between ports on that map screen, paying the amount needed to upgrade your boat and harpoon using the shells you've been mindlessly collecting from the sea creatures you kill as currency. The first item you'll get is a radio that allows you to hear when Jaws is close, while the rest of your port visits will give you a new power level for your harpoon. Do this about 4 or 5 times and your harpoon will now be strong enough to take Jaws down when he randomly shows up. If you can manage that, you'll be taken to a new screen where you can use depth charges to make Jaws jump out of the water. The goal here is to line him up in front of your boat and then use your boat to spear him as he jumps. It's actually easier said than done, since the game requires you to have Jaws at a very exact length from the boat and then have him lined up perfectly to finally spear him and beat the game. I say finally, but the entire game can be beaten within 20 minutes or less, so either consider yourself lucky that it's over, or kick yourself for spending $60 on a game that doesn't even last half as long as a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode. To be fair though, there is slightly more to the game than just going back and forth between ports and killing jellyfish over and over. At times you'll be able to find and pilot a small submersible on the map screen that moves around underwater way quicker than your standard diver, along with being able to shoot more powerful missiles and bombs at those oh so dangerous jellyfish. As cool as that sounds though, the speed the submersible moves is actually a detriment to it, since it's far too easy to run into a manta ray and lose it, since it only takes one hit before it's gone. Additionally, if you kill enough of the smaller sharks while you're underwater, you'll get a Galaga-inspired minigame where you drop bombs from a plane at jellyfish that swim in patterns beneath you. Shoot enough and you'll be able to gain an extra life or more shells, along with getting a ton of points for that all-important high score that literally no one cares about because it's a Jaws game. Beyond that though, that's really about all there is to Jaws. No, there's no real stages to beat or anything like that. It's literally just all about going back and forth to ports and killing jellyfish and manta rays over and over. There's not even any real challenge to the game either, besides dodging sea creatures and just how annoying it can be to line up that final hit on Jaws. I genuinely feel bad for anyone that bought this game back in the day and played through it before their TV dinner was done cooking. It's that short and easy, and there's no excuse for why this was being sold as a full-price game besides having Jaws on the front of that box. Jaws ended up being a game I never asked for, both figuratively and literally. I honestly can't recall any kid that was losing their mind to be able to run out and play a Jaws game. I know I certainly wasn't, but I somehow ended up owning it anyway due to a clueless family member that asked the cashier at Kmart what game he thought all the kids were buying. And since games back then were expensive and didn't come around too often, I ended up playing it for dozens of hours for no other reason than I was a kid and didn't want to go outside. Jaws honestly isn't as terrible as what the internet makes it out to be, but it's still not really good by any means. It plays fine, and there's a certain relaxing quality to the 10 or so minutes it takes to beat the game, though once you do, I seriously doubt you'll ever want to beat it again. In the grand scheme of things, Jaws was obviously part of whatever bulk licensing deal LJN secured, and then made it into a bare-bones game just because it was a popular movie, and LJN hoped at least a few kids were dumb enough to buy it. Much to no one's surprise though, even kids at the time didn't want a Jaws game, and it ended up languishing in clearance bins for years after its release. Even if you're a fan of Jaws, it's probably best to just do something better with your time than play this, like maybe just watch the actual movie again. As for this chum bucket of a game, just go ahead and toss it overboard.